is Reverend Don Lewis, and welcome back to Living the Wiccan Life. In part 2 of our episode, I bring you my interview with Sandy Russell of Pagan Unity in Elgin, Illinois. I'm sure you'll enjoy the interview.
I'm Sandy Russell, alias Cassandra from Chicago. I run a group called Pagan Unity in Elgin, Illinois, which is a covenanted church group out at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Elgin, which is a liberal denomination that practices freedom, reason, and tolerance, and includes the pagan viewpoint as one of value and honor in their system of looking at the worldview. Let's see, in fact, accordance with their 7th principle about the interdependent web of life, of which we all are a part. So, and there's also things known as CUPS groups in the Unitarian Universalist Church, which is Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans. And my husband and I have been members at the UU Church since 2005, and the mission of Pagan Unity is to put on the 8 seasonal Wheel of the Year festivals. And while we've been there, we've also been stewards of the Earth Wisdom Labyrinth, which has been at this location in Elgin since 1997. It was originally created by Neil Patrick Harris, who runs the Relax for Life Center out in Barrington, Illinois. And he had actually originally created it in his backyard in Barrington, and he opened it to the public. And unfortunately, within a few weeks, people were parking in his neighborhood at all hours of the day or night to come and walk the labyrinth, which is a classic 11th Circuit design, Chart Cathedral design, which is 94 feet in diameter. So the village officials asked him to move it, said it was a zoning violation, and it was originally offered to the Theosophical Society in Wheaton, Illinois, but because they already had a Cretan labyrinth on their property, they decided to decline. And it was next offered to the Unitarian Church of Elgin in 1996, was accepted, and then in the summer of 1997, it was taken apart stone by stone and transported by church members and other friends of the labyrinth to its current location, and over a series of weekends was then rebuilt. And what was really interesting is that toward the end they started running out of rocks, even though they were trying to keep the exact dimensions that they'd had in the backyard in Barrington. And when they ran out of rocks, it's a rural location where there's a cornfield on one side, a pasture on the other. So we went to the neighbors and asked them if they had any stones in their fields that they'd like to get rid of. And so we actually collected the last of the rocks that completed the labyrinth from fieldstone that was all around from the original property, or the original land around Elgin, and completed it. And it actually has 23 tons of fieldstone, creating this classic Chart Cathedral design. We were lucky in the first, so we've had it 14 years. It was dedicated on the summer solstice morning of 1997 in a beautiful ceremony that acknowledged the spirits of the land, including the ancestral Native American spirits. And we brought together many different traditions that day to honor the 4 directions that were established for the labyrinth, with an entrance in the east. In the first few years after the labyrinth was dedicated, some drainage problems on the land necessitated the building of a berm around the perimeter of the labyrinth, which which actually put it kind of in a bowl. And then there were drainage tile issues that have been recently repaired, but we did have 2 springs where the labyrinth pretty well flooded. And the fact that the aisles of the labyrinth were filled with wood chips over the years also accelerated the problem of weed growth and just grass creeping in, and all of a sudden within a couple of months being 2 and 3 feet high and hiding all the rocks and the stones and making the labyrinth extremely difficult to navigate, if not impossible. But the first half of its existence, we had a very generous member of the church who actually owned a landscape company, and he would send his landscape team in, regularly to maintain it. But then that member unfortunately passed away and didn't leave perpetual care in their will. So we've had these problems the last few years with the weed growth that have gotten worse and worse and worse. And since I've been a member there, I've been taking pictures periodically, and these are all documented on a meetup.com site entitled Earth Wisdom Labyrinth, where activities for upgrading the labyrinth and plans for group labyrinth walks are advertised. And we are undertaking a very large project this year to remove the wood chips, which are causing all the weed growth, and to replace it with limestone paver, very finely ground, okay, which is very saline, which will inhibit the weed growth, because there is a weed liner, but unfortunately all the wood chips over the years that were put on top of the liner turned into mulch, which is the perfect medium for growing weeds. And amazingly, all that weed growth is on top of the liner. So we are meeting on Saturday mornings or at other times when it might be cooler, maybe in the evenings, to take shovels and shovel the old mulch and weed layer off the top of the weed liner and then replace it with limestone. We've got a big truckload of limestone that's been dumped into the parking lot adjacent to where it is. There are wheelbarrows and shovels in the church shed, and if you check the meetup.com site for Earth Wisdom Labyrinth and find out when people are going to be there and with the shed open and the tools available, you can come and do some sacred maintenance on this wonderful labyrinth that was actually the first public labyrinth that was opened in the state of Illinois when it was first opened back in 1997.
If people would like to learn more about the labyrinth, or if they'd like to learn about your group, where would they go?
They could come to the website of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Elgin. There's also a Facebook page for the Earth Wisdom Labyrinth. It's a community page, which will also direct them with links back to the UU church site and also to the meetup group for Earth Wisdom Labyrinth.com or on meetup.com.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Don, for supporting this very, very worthy project. We're looking to get, since it's a community labyrinth, we're looking to get people from the surrounding area who are all labyrinth lovers, whether they're pagans, neo-pagans, druids, or just anyone who loves to walk in nature the path to the center.
I hope that you've enjoyed this episode and that you'll join us again next time for more of Living the Wiccan Life. Until then, may you blessed be.